Good morning. It is about 10 after 9. I have something to share with you that happened last night. And I was in, okay, I was in just starting worship, and the Lord spoke to me to come live and to share what happened last night with you. So, because there's a message in it. Good morning. Hi, Matthew, Carrie, and Jonathan. Okay, so let me tell you what happened. Those that follow this channel know that we went through a tornado July 19th, and that God literally showed himself to me, that he was here beside me. And I just kept crying out his name, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And we had a lot of damage with trees. We must have had, they said they counted on just one side over 30 trees that had fallen. So all combined, they said might even be over 100 trees that fell. And yet our house was fine. We have one area right at my picture window that Gerard said, my husband is Gerard, said it should have gone through. But if it did, I was at high risk. But God, right? It didn't even leak. The Lord has protected everything. Since that time, we had another threat of a tornado, and he just ran in and said, take cover, take cover. We're not getting you any warning. There's funnels everywhere. And I started spazzing. Where do I go? Where do I go? I mean, it was very emotionally traumatizing for both of those. So what happened last night was another storm is coming. Storms aren't the same for me anymore, or for Deb. And if I know there's high winds, because I know some of these trees are a little iffy from the tornado, if there's high winds, if it gets bad, I'm nervous. It's just a natural response when you've gone through any type of a trauma. I want to tell you this, read this up here. The Lord gave me this poem when I was doing Words from God. We got a group called Words from God, and I think it still had nightly services. I don't know if I took that off because we used to have services every single night for 5 nights a week. But it says, let his peace fill you and his joy be your strength. He's saying this is part of your message. That's why he's having me do this. Let his love enfold you and his caring arms embrace. His favor follow you and his armor protect you. His glory shine upon your face. God is so good, isn't he? So this is what happened. Last night the storm came in, and it was supposed to come in wee hours of the morning, like 2 in the morning. Then he told me, no, it's going to be sooner, a few hours sooner. Before I knew it, it was already us by 20 after 10. And it came in hard, 70-mile-an-hour winds, which when we had the straight line winds were 85 and was knocking trees down. So I started getting really nervous. I knew it wasn't straight line winds, but it was gusts of winds. And they sounded very similar to what it sounded like then. I got extremely nervous. I grabbed my chair and went and sat in the kitchen, figure I'll hit the floor if I have to. I was real quiet and just like intent listening, eyes as big as quarters every time I'd hear that wind just gusting up and listening for any trees that might be falling so I could hit the floor. That's how afraid I was. And I just sat there, and every time, and this is what the message is the Lord showed me because I noticed it last night. Every time I'd get too scared and I started sitting there and I would just go, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Suddenly I felt his presence. I didn't see him, but I felt his presence. And when I stopped, it dissipated and left. Then things were fine for a bit. The minute I started getting scared because the winds were really getting going and the sound was horrid, and I started saying Jesus again, and quickly I felt his presence. And this is what he told me this morning as I went into worship. He said, share this. He reminded me, he showed me, what I did last night. He said, share this, because my children need to know in this hour that when they're really afraid, all they have to do is cry out to me, and I'm right there. You don't have to see me. You don't even have to feel me, but I'm right there. And the reason I think he's saying this is just like with what happened in the Bahamas with these people. My heart sank seeing some of these videos that were sent to me and these people crying for help and please pray. It just broke my heart. And I just went to praying and crying, and I hope a lot of you did, because I believe our prayers have done some good with this hurricane. It's not going to be near the damage it could have been. But the Bahamas were hit with a Category 5. And the Lord warned me about calamities and about many will be lost, both physical and spiritual. And here there were bodies in the water, my husband said. So how much, I don't know. Could it be more yet coming? Could be. Possibly is. Because we have more hurricanes coming. This is the season. And he could be warning us to be on our faces and pray. But what he wanted you to know today, it really meant a lot to him. And I was going to keep worshiping. And I just felt pulled in my spirit. No, stop and do it now. So I will. He wants you to understand the minute you cry out his name, Jesus, 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 because you're scared, he's right there. And I felt his presence so strong I could almost feel him, if that makes any sense to you. Those of you who've had that kind of closeness at times with the Lord, that you can feel it so strong, you almost feel his hands on your arms. That's what it felt like, but I didn't see anything. And then the minute I stopped, it left. When I started, it came. And I think he did this so that you could hear me say this to you. It happened to me, it'll happen to you. When you're afraid, you cry out to your Father in heaven, and he will be there for you, whether you see him or not. Everything that's going on right now, remember he said yesterday, is in his hands. He's still on the throne, guys, and he is in charge. But what he did say yesterday, and I felt it strongly, that you need to not play church. You need to really be his child wholeheartedly with everything in you. You need to really strive to do the will of your Father in heaven, and to be humble and repentive, to be kind to others. The love of Christ is so important to him. And it even says it in his word, the greatest of these is love. This is really important to him. Don't shun people, guys. Don't be cruel. Don't be placent. Don't think that because you're a child of God that you can treat people however you want. You will be accountable for that, okay? Not everybody can be your friend, and that's fine. But make sure that you're being kind. You're being forgiving, truly forgiving, not just in words. True forgiveness, okay? If someone is asking you for forgiveness, please forgive them. If you're having trouble with it, go to the Father and tell him to help you, and he will. But when you forgive somebody, that doesn't mean you shun them. You can still be tolerant and kind. Do you understand? You can still pray. You can still talk. You can still correspond. You just may not be best buddies, and that's fine. Does that make any sense to anybody? Be careful. Guard your hearts, and be careful that you don't hurt others. Okay? I love you guys. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.